we read this section and talked about it many times. The war in the mind. There are two kinds of war. In the external world, there are wars and disturbances, riots, and all kinds of violences all over the world. And what Grandmaster Sotaesan is teaching is this. Actually, the cause of all the external disturbances and wars, the cause of that lies in human mind. In the first place, there's a war and disturbance in human mind. And that's the cause of all the wars, disturbances. You know what it is like when your mind is disturbed. Right? Many people suffer from depressions, paranoia, and all kinds of mental disturbances. Sometimes the disturbance is so severe that some people, have a nervous breakdown. See? Because if the disturbance continues so many days, and eventually become psychophysical problem, and they come down with a nervous breakdown. In severe cases, many the people commit suicide. In Korea, these days several people committed suicide. One, almost a national talent, committed suicide. She was only 40 years of age, only the week before last week. And after that, about 2 other people committed suicide. The first one killed her by hanging herself with a pressure bandage, around her neck and in a bathroom. And the other 2 also killed themselves exactly the same way. This is called Veritas effect. Veritas, the sorrow of agony of the young Veritas is written by who? In German originally. Who wrote that novel? 젊은 베르테르의 슬픔. Goethe's writing. Now the point is this. She was under heavy pressure, like a slander, disgrace, and so on. And then she couldn't stand it. She was completely upside down for several days. Now this is a war, horrible war in her mind. And those evil army simply eventually killed her. Pressure. I think if you have experienced even slight slander or unfair treatment or impending some kind of threat, either somebody's going to send you like a collection agency, you know what I mean? If you know that, you know how your mind functions. It's fearful, And in severe case, it leads to some kind of a mental illness, you see? What is called paranoia and so on. This is a good example of what is called mental war inside, mental disturbance. What Buddhism teaches, what WonBuddhism teaches is this: you have to conquer them. If there are enemy and army of the enemy, you do not let them destroy you. You have to conquer them. And as we just read, the main army of the mind are actually three poisons: greed, anger, and foolishness. You see? Those three are the ultimate cause of all the disturbance in the mind. You remember we read at the end of the Dharma, every Dharma meeting, 9 essentials of daily practice. The first one says, our mind ground is originally free from disturbance, but it becomes disturbed in adverse conditions, trying situations. So let us establish the samadhi concentration of your original nature by keeping our mind from being disturbed. This is easier said than done. We recite this whole life. Once a day, in the morning after meditation. But still many people, many WonBuddhists, don't have the power to keep their serenity, samadhi from adverse conditions and trying situations. You know why? In the practice of Irun Sang, in my translation, you will see one necessary condition for you to have for a proper practice is to be enlightened to your own Buddha nature, which has many names. One is prajna wisdom, the same. In the scripture of perfect enlightenment, it is identified with a wondrous mind of a perfect enlightenment, wondrous mind. I used the word marvelous mind. Perfectly enlightened, marvelous mind are the same thing. Wondrous mind of perfect enlightenment. It is there in your mind. If you're enlightened to that wondrous mind of perfect enlightenment, you have the key, you have the weapon to subdue all those armies, evil armies. Until you have this power, light of the wisdom shining, in adverse conditions, you have no power. If you got a letter from some collection agency, you pay so much by a certain date, otherwise we'll come and destroy your house or whatever. Can you keep your mind calm, Maria? It's very difficult. You cannot conquer all those enemies in your mind. Remember, fear is an enemy in your mind. It's a disturbance. How can you conquer them? You should have the light of wisdom shining. Once the light of the wisdom shining, it's like driving the darkness from the dark room with light. It's gone. Of course, there's a degree of this perfection. For the beginners, still you may have shake hands. Your whole system can be shaking when you are threatened, either threatened. But if you train yourself for quite a long time, even if somebody is trying to kill you with a gun, you won't be moved.